Good afternoon and welcome to African Economy, a 30-minute business program where we bring you up to speed on the economic forces shaping Nigeria and the rest of Africa. Here's what we have lined up for you today. Ethiopia closes doors to foreign rivals, equips local airlines. 5% equity push at projected mega gold mine unfolds. South Africa boosts fuel production as 108,000 barrel per day refinery. And U.S. expands its tent in Africa with new energy and minerals financing. You are welcome to the program. My name is Wangfonabasi Walter, and I am delighted to be your host as usual on African Economy today. Let's look at the currency market, particularly the US dollar in relation to other African currencies. On the currency market, the Nigerian naira exchange rate is slightly appreciated against the US dollar, trading at 1,352 naira 86 kobo, up by 0.64%. Conversely, the South African rand has weakened, now at 16 rand per US dollar, up by 0.2%. The US dollar against the Zambian kwacha has seen a small increase to 18.19, up by 0.30%. The US dollar against the Egyptian pound is at 47 pounds per US dollar, up to 0.29%. And the Algerian dinar against the US dollar is at 130 dinar, per US dollar, up to 0.03%. These fluctuations reflect diverse economic dynamics across the continent, influenced by regional factors and global market. Away from that, Africa's largest aviation hub, Ethiopia, has ruled out an immediate full opening of its aviation market to foreign private airlines, signaling a strategic push to strengthen domestic operators before exposing them to global competition. Speaking at a sector meeting 26, Yohannes Abira, Director General of the Ethiopian Civil Aviation Authority, said the country must first reinforce its aviation ecosystem, legal structures and financing frameworks, warning that the domestic sector still lacks the institutional depth to compete independently on the global stage. The policy stance from Ethiopia, home to Africa's largest aviation market, reflects a cautious balancing act between market openness and the protection of local industry growth. However, officials say private domestic carriers continue to face structural hurdles, including regulatory constraints and operational bottlenecks. Staying with the continental investment flows, the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation has approved a fresh round of strategic investment across Africa, sharpening Washington's economic focus on critical minerals, energy, security and regional stability. Now the move signals a broader expansion of U.S. economic engagement on the continent, with officials positioning the funding as both a development tool and a supply chain strategy tied to global technology and defense needs. In a statement released through the Africa Regional Media Hub, DFC Director General Ben Black said the new approvals reflect a disciplined approach to advancing U.S. strategic interest while maintaining commercial sustainability. He added that the agency aims to mobilize public and private capital to strengthen the sovereignty of key African partners and secure access to minerals essential for modern industry. In West Africa, Regional infrastructure ambitions are gaining momentum as Uganda is considering linking a new railway line it is developing to a separate line under construction in neighboring Tanzania, potentially creating a new export corridor for minerals such as gold, copper and iron ore, according to the government. Uganda currently exports most of its commodities through Kenya's port of Mombasa and has already announced plans to link its standard gauge railway to a line being built in Kenya, a project that remains ongoing. By creating the port, Uganda would reduce reliance on Kenya's port of Mombasa and lower vulnerability to congestion, geopolitical risks, or logistical disruptions along a single corridor. The Ministry of Works and Transport documents state that the planned routes would run from the Tanzanian border through southern and southwestern Uganda, terminating at Mbondwe on the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. Turning to West Africa's mining landscape, West African Resource Limited (WAF) and Burkina Faso are striking a delicate balance between state control and private investment, proving that discussions is still feasible even in an environment of aggressive resource nationalization. According to the Council of Ministers, the government is examining a draft decree to control an additional 25% equity stake in the capital of Kiaki SA, a large gold mine, in order to fulfill the legal need for ministerial consent. These conversations, coordinated by the government legal body, demonstrate a collaborative approach. WAF has been engaged constructively, ensuring that any increase in government ownership is in the financial interest of existing shareholders and financiers. Beyond Kiaki, the government legal body has confirmed its commitment to working with WAF on future mining projects that would increase national involvement, create employment and unleash more social and economic advantages from Burkina Faso's mineral resources. Still in the West Africa, Ghana and Burkina Faso have moved to strengthen diplomatic and security cooperation, signing 7 bilateral agreements aimed at stabilizing one of West Africa's most sensitive trade and security corridors. The agreements were concluded during the latest session of the Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation, which both sides revived after 6 years of inactivity. Officials said the reset builds on earlier high-level engagement between John Mahama and Ibrahim Traore in 2023 that reopened channels of cooperation between Accra and Ouagadougou during the joint session. Both governments jointly agreed to develop a new security framework to combat terrorism and violent extremism along the Shade frontier. Beyond security, they also addressed a recurring humanitarian issue linked to the Bagre Dam, whose periodic spillage has historically triggered flooding in downstream communities in northern Ghana. Officials said the new cooperation mechanism would improve disaster preparedness and coordinated response. Now let's shift focus to the petroleum sector, where fuel pricing continues to shape economic realities across the continent. Fuel is an essential component in practically every area of the economy, from transportation and agriculture to industry and services. When prices rise substantially, the consequences rarely stay inside the energy sector. Instead, they spread throughout supply chains, raising the cost of goods and services and diminishing total purchasing power. Long-term high gasoline prices can hinder growth, reduce consumer demand, and strain governmental finances. Consequences as a result could become especially severe for low-income households and rural regions, where fuel prices play an uneven role in the transportation of product and people. With that broader context in mind, let's take a look at the African countries recording the highest fuel prices this February. Top on the list is Malawi with $2.868 as fuel price, and the rank second. Second is Central African Republic with $1.897 as fuel price and ranked 21st on the list globally. Third is Senegal with $1.62 and they rank 42nd on the list globally. Fourth is Zimbabwe. Fifth is Burkina Faso with 1.536 and they rank 51st. Sixth is Cameroon with 1.517 US dollars as fuel price and the rank of 52nd on the list. Seventh is Zambia with 1.510 US dollars as fuel price and the rank 53rd on the list. 8 and 9 is Sierra Leone, is Ivory Coast and Sierra Leone with 1.448 US dollars as fuel price and the rank 59th on the list amongst others. Compared to last month's list, when the global average cost of fuel was $1.28 per liter as opposed to 1.30 US dollars per liter. This month, fuel prices in Malawi, Central African Republic, Zimbabwe, Burkina Faso, Cameroon and the Ivory Coast increased, while fuel prices for Zimbabwe and Zambia reduced marginally. Sierra Leone and Uganda ousted Kenya and Seychelles on the top 10 list for the month. We'll take a short break from here, and when we return, more key economic developments shaping Africa's financial landscape continues. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. And now to Central Africa, where the Democratic Republic of Congo's central bank has unveiled a strategic move to deepen economic sovereignty, announcing plans to purchase gold directly from DRC Gold Trading SA, a fully state-owned company aggregating output from artisanal and small-scale miners. The initiative comes as the Democratic Republic of Congo navigate persistent insecurity in its eastern provinces, where the M23 rebel group controls mineral-rich territories, and signals Kinshasa's growing confidence in its own mineral resources as tools to stabilize the economy. According to a report, DRC Gold Trading SA will partner with the central bank to supply gold sourced from Congo's hand-dug or artisanal mining operations as authorities seek to capitalize on the country's vast mineral wealth and elevated global gold prices. Until now, the central bank did not run a structured domestic gold buying program. Most artisanal gold, particularly from eastern provinces, was sold to private traders with significant volumes leaving the country through informal or illicit channels. As a result, much of Congo's gold wealth never entered official reserve account. Under the new framework, the state-owned trader will aggregate artisanal output and supply it for the central bank for conversion into monetary reserves. Back home in Nigeria, concerns are mounting over Nigeria's forfeiture of roughly $2.3 billion and $3.3 billion to post-harvest losses in 2025, underscoring deep structural weaknesses in the country's agricultural logistics and storage systems. According to industry estimate, the disclosure came from the Organization for Technology Advancement of Cold Chain in West Africa, whose president, Alexander Isong, said the country lost an estimated 30 to 40 million metric tons of food across major value chains during the year, highlighting tomatoes, fruit, vegetables, dairy, meat and fish among the worst hit categories. Speaking in an interview, Isong said the losses valued at between 3.5 trillion naira and 5 trillion naira reflected produce that had already been cultivated and transported but ultimately wasted due to systemic gaps. He added that without certified gold chain systems, the country would continue to face elevated food prices, squeezed farmer incomes and weak export competitiveness. Meanwhile, Nigeria is stepping up efforts to secure up to $5.5 billion in Chinese investment to strengthen its power, mining and manufacturing sectors. According to the Ministry of Finance, Finance Minister Wale Edunhel talks in Abuja with a high-level delegation from GCL Group, led by former Abia State Governor Oji Uzo Kalu, as the government seeks fresh foreign direct investment to support economic reforms. Officials said the proposed $5.7 billion package would target large-scale energy generation, local mineral processing, and new industrial facilities designed to expand employment and export capacity. The discussions form part of a broader strategy by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to rebuild productive capacity and shifts Africa's largest economy away from dependence on raw commodity in export. In the southern part of Africa, South Africa's energy sector is set to see a boost in fuel production as its 108,000 barrels per day natural refinery returns to full operation following extensive repairs. The inland facility operated by Sasol was severely damaged by a fire in early 2025. Its restoration not only strengthens the country's fuel supply chain but also allows Sasol to raise its 2026 2026 fuel sales guidance, marking a significant recovery for both the company and South Africa's energy sector. South African energy and chemicals producer Sasol has revised its 2026 fuel sales guidance upwards after successfully completing repairs and regaining full operational control of the Natref crude oil refinery, which was severely damaged by a fire in early 2025. The restoration of Natref, a key inland refining asset, has significantly improved output and strengthened fuel production after a prolonged disruption. And finally, staying in South Africa, the composite's leading business cycle indicator in South Africa has increased by 1% month-on-month in December 2025, reversing our 1.4% increase in the previous month. This marked the first decline since September as increases in component time series outweighed increases in South dollars, US dollar denominated export commodity price index and an acceleration in the 6-month smooth growth rate in the number of new passenger vehicles sold. The main negative contributors were a deceleration in the 6-month smooth growth rate in the real M1 money supply and a decrease in the number of residential building plans approved. Meanwhile, the composite's coincident indicator fell by 0.2% in December, so slipping from 0.3% rise in the prior period due to decreases in the industrial production index and the utilization of production capacity in the manufacturing sector. The lagging indicator declined by 0.4% in the same month. And that brings us to today's edition of African Economy. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow us across all our social media channels at Spectrum TV. Remember, African Economy airs live every Tuesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Until next time, keep thinking growth, keep thinking progress, because this is where Africa's economy speaks. I am Wangfonabasi Ota. Goodbye.